Alright, so I'm going to explain how to use CentrED version 0.79, or the most current version when I recorded this video. So there is a lot of tools up here, as you can see. This little map icon brings up a mini map. I've already started working on several little locations. This also can work as a navigator. So one of my admins has been working on this town. I haven't gotten to explore it too much yet, so I will show you how to change your scope of visibility so that way you can actually look into things and not tamper with too much. Whoops, that was not what I was wanting to do. So as you can see, this thing can be a little bit finicky. If you leave the window, it exits out. So we put our map at -75. So scope of visibility. Bringing this down so I can look into the buildings. I know he said that there was a basement around here somewhere, and I'm not sure where he had put it. Well, this gives me a nice look into the mountains, so that's actually a really good thing. I can't see where he put his basement for one of these buildings, so... this would probably be it. So, he's got a few different buildings with basements. Now that's a good thing as well. But this is kind of a general idea of, stacking statics to make them look like they're essentially 3D. So the scope of visibility, which is this little eye thing, can give you the ability to look under things. If you want to only be working on certain things, you can move the visibility upwards. Something to understand about CentrED is any time you are wanting to anytime you're wanting to work on something but you don't want certain levels to be affected, remember, I'm going to say this, and this is going to be something that's going to save you one day. Anything that you cannot see cannot be affected. So if I were to say, I want to build a house, well, I'm going to go into buildings. I'm actually going to go to a different side of the map. Let's go over to a town that I'm working on. So I've got these little townhouses that I've put in here. So if I want to place down a static, well, I don't want this to be fixed at -80. That's a sure thing. Let's go ahead and get this fixed at -75, which is the base ground for my map. I can lay down these statics, but let's say I want to make, combine these two statics, but I really do not want them to be, I don't want these to look like I just copied and pasted these and made them look this way. So I'm going to have to redo the roof. I need to remove the floors, so surfaces, and I need to remove stairs. I need to remove walls. Oh, now I've got these roofs that I can delete, and so they'll be gone. Now I put these back into place, and voila! I didn't delete these. I just deleted the roofs off of them. Now I want to combine them. So I've got this little move statics and terrains rectangle. what that'll let me do is it'll let me nudge things a little bit. So I'm going to nudge this by 5. I'm going to put this closer here. And maybe if I move this a little bit closer, it'll look a little bit better. And I've got these little that little edge thing right there. So I'm going to go ahead and make that 2. And then I'm just going to move this over here. Now, this little triangular roof thing, I definitely don't want that. So I'm just going to go ahead and, since these are walls and this is part of the wall set, but I want to make my life a little bit easier, I'm just going to go ahead and move this up. And then with this being black and the roof below, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to erase this. With that being black, well, I did not mess anything up here. Now, I'm going to have to delete these statics right here, just so it looks a little bit better. And since, again, I want to do some edits, I want this to not be this way. I want to actually have stairs going up. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move my visibility down again. And I'll just go ahead and remove these little blocks here so that way it doesn't mess anything up. Now, I also want to make sure, so this little tool right here, this cursor is great because it acts kind of like an eyedrop. Like if you ever used a, I have to unfix the height here. If you've ever used like an art program, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say it's kind of like an eyedropper. I want to make sure I didn't put anything above it. Okay, so I just want to put this right here, and this is too low. If you just use your scroll wheel just a little bit, you can actually move things up and down. It can even work on terrain. I can create hills right here, and let's say you accidentally create a hill. Well, that's not going to be a very good thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set this right here to -75, since my map is at -75, and I'm just going to go ahead and flatten the terrain using the change height of the relief static. Now let's say I want to create a plateau out somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and go to these little these little islands right here on my map, and I'm going to use the editing mesh tool. So what this is going to do, like let's say I want to change the outer radius of this, and I want the inner radius to be this. So I want this to look kind of like a plateau. Well, then I'm going to have to change a few things, make it so then the outer radius is matched. So now I can create myself a little plateau here. So I'm just going to increase this. Oh, that's going to be a little bit too big. Oh, go back to this being that, and now I'm going to change the height to be really high. Oh, the outer radius is not the way I wanted it to be. Okay, so let's go ahead and increase this by 1. So here's my plateau. All right, and as you can see, I want my radius thing right here to be higher, and so I can create a plateau right there. I just did that. So there's that plateau. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and flatten this again to be 75. And let's say I want this to look actually pretty normal and not to have a huge height. And I want it to actually look like a hill. Well, now I have to change the outer radius to actually look somewhat normal and change the depth of the height so that way it actually, see, now I've got this hill right here. And it looks like a pretty normal looking hill. Have to do some more configuration of it, kind of make it look a little bit more normal. Alright, so now I've got my hill, and it looks like any normal hill. And then I'm just going to go ahead and, oh wait, while I'm here, I can actually show you the flat view. The flat view lets you actually see where your tiles are set. So I've got this one at my highest of negative 68 or 65 or 63, or maybe it's negative 45. Anyways, as you can see, there's all these negative numbers. If I just go right over it like this, it's going to put this back at negative 75. Now, the flat view doesn't work for statics, but let's say you are trying to do edging on your waters, because that's the project that I've been working on for the last, I don't know, too long. There's the statics that I'm working on right here, and as you can see, I have not finished the edging of my water, which is very annoying, and it takes forever, and it makes this somewhat boring. There were tools out there that helped with that. Now there's not, because just certain map tools have just gone away. So we've got the statics. This will not work for the statics, except if you're looking to do something like the edging of the water. Otherwise, it's not going to give you the proper view, and I will show you what I mean by looking at, let's go ahead and actually raise this up. So I've got this little building right here that I'm working on. It's not little, it's big, but I've got this building that I'm working on, and it's supposed to be for a special thing that I added in my server. But as you can see, this doesn't do much good in showing you how the statics are placed, except where the location of the statics are. Like this is a marble house that I built, or a marble building that I built. Here's an inn, and as you can see, it doesn't look all that well. And we've got all these houses for the town, as well as another building. So this doesn't do a very good job of portraying statics. What it does do is portray how high your land is, or how low your land is. So let's look at the mountains as an example. I have some things that I have to work on in the mountains. As you can see, some of these are at -1, others of these are at -68. There are other tools you can use to build like mountains or something. So as an example, like let's say I want to change my height. I want to set it at -55, and then like let's say I want to add a random factor to it. What I can do is I can change this number to anything I want, and then I need to go into texture, and as you can see, there's this little window thing right here. I need to go into texture, and voila, I've got some random landmass. Now this is really random, and it's not going to make for a very good place for your characters to, or your players to place houses. I would not suggest randomizing the height of your land too much, because it can really mess some things up. So I'm going to go and set this back to here. I'm not going to make this random anymore and set this back to -75. Now there is also the drawing. All right, I want to point out that this right here is at 100%. It doesn't look like that. It says 00.00. That's because for some reason CentrED doesn't like playing nice with newer computers. I don't understand why, but I'm just going to go ahead and put this at fixed height of -75. I have to work on a forest or something, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to grab some of the forest tiles off to the side. Now, as you can see, you can either set it to static, texture, or both. I'm going to go ahead and use texture, and I'm going to use this. So I'm going to randomize this list get rid of the statics that I have in there, and I'm just going to go ahead. Now, something about CentrED is that it does not like to play nice if you use the set only once and randomization. I don't know why, it just doesn't. So you should add a set of whatever it is that you're going for, the randomization set that you're using, in at least two times, if not more. So that way it actually comes out really random. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the fixed height because this is narrowing a mountain. So I want to make sure that if the edging of the mountain that Tin Man had done actually gets affected, it doesn't change the edging too much. It just puts the forest floor on the edging. So as you can see, I've got it going on the edging. And now it looks like I've got randomized text or texture. And this is basically my ground for my forest. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom out so I can show you. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to add a little bit of forest here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Now I'm going to go into static, and I'm going to select some trees. So I'm going to go ahead and go to tree, type that in, and I'm just going to select one of these so that way I can actually have it memorized. And there we go. Now I actually have a swamp that I need to work on, so I think some of these trees right here will work with swamps. What do you guys think? So now I've got these trees selected, and then I've got to select some more swampy looking trees. So I'm going to go ahead and do not select any of these. They'll end up random in this. So I'm going to go ahead and select those. I'm going to select some other things that would go in a swamp. Maybe some mushrooms while I'm at it. Alright, so I've got my swamp trees here. And now, oh, it's like if I were to do that right now, yes, that looks cool, but it's not going to get the job done that I'm looking for. So, this is when you change how randomized it is. So I'm going to go with 10% here. I don't think I would need more. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start drawing. So as you can see, it'll randomly place in a percentage chance of what you're putting down. So now this looks like a swamp. And it's all nice and drawn out, and it's got all these statics here. I will have to edge this, and I will also have to fix the grass to make it look more random. But as you can see, oh, access violation. That happens. Again, that happens with the current version of CentrED with your current version of your computer. If you have Windows 10 or Windows 7 or Windows 8, this happens a lot. Windows XP is probably the only one that it doesn't happen too often with, though it does happen. We've tested this actually on Windows XP, and it works a lot better. But I use Windows 10, so now that you can see, I've got this swamp starting to look pretty well like a swamp. So that is the percentage. So I'm going to go ahead and decrease my percentage to 5% to make it so then I know that players can actually have places in the swamp to place a house. So we've got this all set out. I'm missing some, purposefully missing areas so that way I can make sure that there's houses. So now that I've got the swamp, you guys know that you can basically use this to draw almost anything. Then, if you want to use hues as an example, let's go ahead and go to this town right here, because I can go ahead and probably color something. Yes, I will go ahead and color this roof because that seems like a really good idea. So I don't want to color anything but that roof. So I will, again, change my visibility to where I'm only going to be coloring that roof. I'm going to take down my walls, and then I'm going to color the roof one of the special colors that I made myself. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color the roof. Let's see what this looks like. Not so good. That doesn't look very good. So I'm just going to change this to a different color. So what about a red roof? Probably not. Okay, how about this really special brown? Nope. How about this funky looking color? No, that's not going to work either. That might work. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, whoops. No, that definitely would not work with what I was going for. Change my scope of visibility to only see that. What about, no, that pink would not work. We could probably do this color. It might work. So now that I've got this, it kind of works. I think I'm just going to go ahead and put it back to not being colored at all and go with that. So as you can see, you can color items, statics of any sort with your hues, and it will come out looking, well, like it's hued in that color. So as you can see, if I do this, it'll look like that. Textures cannot be colored, by the way. So as you can see, my grass right here, the little grass edges turned blue. This turned a puke green, and the texture didn't change. This this pathway is textured. Now, let's go ahead and talk about this guy right here. Show on the ball. Now, this guy, I thought, and I thought wrong, but this guy I thought would make it so then things would, do I have it fixed? Okay, make it so then things, oh, I don't want these colored. Make it so then it was easier and was just a grid. I didn't realize that it made it like 1,000 times easier to draw things. So let's go ahead and show you an example of what I am talking about with this. If I can find a good place to place this tree, or maybe, you know what? Let's go ahead and place this tree right. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and place this tree right here. Then I'm gonna get rid of the show on ball visibility. So I'm going to place a bed right here. And I want you to pay attention to this guy right here, if it'll show. So then we've got 75, and then this guy shows it's 0. So 75, 0. The tree is so far down, or so far up, that I would actually have to place a few beds to get it to where I am above the tree. And even then, it's not going to show you. But now it looks like this tree is inside this stack of beds. So that's, the show on the ball will actually give you the ability to actually place a tree or anything on the layer that that you've got it on. So if I put this, as you can see, as it moves down, it kind of looks like this green thing is kind of like eating or not eating the land. So this would show you, hey, this is on 75 or negative 75, at least in my case. Now this will also show you the grids on the block. Did not notice that, but that actually would be very useful. So this shows you where things are up, down, and I'll show you blocks too if you wanted blocks. Um, and if you just click on it, the land disappears, which again, with CentrED, what you cannot see, you cannot change, which will be very beneficial and could also be a problem. So if I wanted to draw statics right now, it'll show, but if I move, it'll be gone. And then I show it back again, and the static's back. I don't remember what this is for. I don't know what this is for, so you'll have to figure it out. I don't know what it is for. This, though, this can help you as well when it comes to making it so then your players can walk in locations. As you can see, this is red. That means that it can't be stepped on. These can't be stepped on. If you're adding custom tiles, it actually can be beneficial because if you've forgotten the tile data to make something not passable or to make something passable, it will show you while you're working on your map what's working and what's not of your custom content. This will also show you the light level. I've never changed it, so, and this is a zoom in, zoom out. So you can sit there and zoom in by 400, or you can zoom out to -25, which takes a while for it to process. And this is a basic tutorial for those who are developers or administrators on how to use these tools right here. Now, to use something like global operations, administrators can only use this. Oops. I didn't do anything wrong. Administrators can only use this. Let's go ahead and select this area right here and perform a global operation. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to draw a small little desert right here. It will draw, I would suggest not adding statics using your global operations. That can actually get really messy really fast. I would not advise it. It can become problematic. Now, again, with CentrED, for some reason, it doesn't like playing nice with the textures or anything else. So we've got to add our randomized set if I want to randomize the grass. Oh, I was going to add a desert. That's right. Again, though, same thing applies here. If I want to make my desert look like a desert and not some sort of joke, I need to add this a few times, make sure that this area that's selected is working. Then I just run the global operation. Now, usually the global operation can take a while, and as you can see on my map, it turned black. There's a fix for that. Actually, there's a few fixes for that, but I'm going to show you the easiest fix, unless you have statics in that area, which at that point, you will end up having issues. Now, the way to fix that, since I still have that area selected, is I just run the global command of delete static, and it'll run the command, and then it will it'll show the desert. Now, as you can see, when I ran some global commands earlier, I forgot to change the height, and as you can see, there's this right here. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change the height. Now, this is going to be one of those things where you have to be really precise. I need to make sure that the height in this is -75 for both sides, otherwise it's going to turn all sorts of jumpy and not so pretty looking. So now that I've ran this global command, it is now just fine. And my desert looks all textury, deserty like I wanted it to. As for the other things that you can do, you can draw terrain, delete statics, you can copy and move an area. This one, Unless you need to, I would suggest not using it because it can get a little bit messy, but you can copy a location and move it to another side of the map. I'm not going to run that command because I don't feel like doing so, but I will show you what it looks like if you were to actually start initializing it. So I want to move my desert 1,000 to the I want to move my desert 1,000 paces over. Do you see the blue box right here? Let's actually make this a lot bigger so you can actually see it. So I've got my big box that I am making right here. And what that will do, if I copy it, is it'll copy this area right here over into this blue box right here. I can show you an instance of where I had to move objects, and this is why I say it gets a little bit finicky. It didn't move my statics, and in fact it deleted my statics, because I finished edging this entire island, and now it's lost my statics, so I have to do it all over again, which does not make me happy, because I'd done so much work on it, and for it to just be gone frustrates me. But as you can see, if you're not precise, you can end up having issues where you have land cuts. As you can see, there is a straight blue line, except where I started mending it earlier. Straight blue line right through the center. And I have to actually go back and I have to fix this. And this edging took me about 2 or 3 days to do, and I have to do not as much as I thought, but I still have to do quite a bit of edging to fix that problem. Now, certain things that you might run across where your map ends up having black spots or black splotches. Over here there's black splotches. Over here there's black splotches. Over here there's black splotches. This, I know why there's a black splotch. I'm using custom tiles, so it's not registering, so that's fine. But generally speaking, if you're not using any custom tiles and there's all these black splotches, one of the quickest ways to fix that without having to worry about those black splotches, if you're an admin, you could actually change the height even by 1. And I would say you want to change relative height, and you can go with -1 here. And you can change it all. You'd have to select the entire map to do so. And that can be a little bit frustrating since CentrED, as you can see, it was doing it just now, because CentrED doesn't like making things easy. But when you've got this set, so I'm going to do 0 here, type that 0 in, type 0 in, make this sure that this, and I'm not going to be editing it yet to fix that, but you can change the height by 1 or by 1 in whichever direction you want to do it. And what that will do is it'll bump everything down or bump everything up. This sort of large command process, it is a large command. It will take, if you have a low-end computer that you're running your CentrED server on, or that you're running off of, it can take about 30 minutes to an hour to run an entire command like that. Sometimes, or for me, it's taken about 5 to 10 minutes to run a command like that, but that's on a higher end computer. So I think I've pretty much covered everything. I don't know what this does. I still haven't figured it out, but this is what I know of CentrED. I've got a tutorial if you don't feel like listening to me drone on. I will include the link to ServUO to it. But this is basically what I have for you, as far as what I know. So I'm sorry it seemed all sorts of weird, but I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope it gives you guys some understanding of how to use this program. I'm not the creator of the program. I take no, uh, I take no credit for it. I'm just a user. UO Quint is the creators of the program. I hope you guys have a nice day.